In version 4.1 of the 3D.js render add-on by KIRI Engine, we introduced a new convert to rough mesh feature, which can be great for creating cropping objects, objects for shadow casting, or other mesh required processes. In this video, I'll show you how to use the feature to turn this scan into a shadow casting rough mesh. Okay, in Blender, I already have a 3D.js scan imported, and I can see that it's this head bust sculpt, and I can see that it's surrounded by a number of points from the environment that it was scanned in. If we navigate in the edit mode on the add-on to the modifiers subpanel and then down the list, we can see convert to rough mesh. And if I press the plus icon, I'll be given a little pop-up dialog. We're given the option to create a duplicate and remove other modifiers. With this enabled, this object will be duplicated and the duplicate object will be converted into the rough mesh. In most cases, you want to leave this ticked. If I untick this, the rough mesh modifier will be applied to the original object and the original object will have camera updates disabled. I'm going to leave it at its default and create a duplicate and remove other modifiers. And then if I press OK, immediately we can see that we're given a weird blobby kind of landscape. And that's because we're trying to convert a full scene, including the background and our head in the center, into a mesh. If you wanted to convert a full landscape, you could still try playing with the voxel settings here to get some kind of collision mesh. But right now, I only want my head, which is being a little bit confused in the center here. So I'm going to disable the modifier. And I'm going to remove some of these outside points. And now with just the head and a few straggling points remaining, I'm going to turn the modifier back on and we get something better looking. And if I reduce the point volume radius here, I can see we're starting to get something that looks more like the head that I expect. Increasing the voxel amount will give me some better detail, and I can smooth the results a little bit. And I can see that I have this main mesh island in the center and a lot of straggling little isolated parts here. I don't want them, so I can use filter islands, enable that, and slowly crank up the island threshold to remove any small parts here. If I wanted to do the reverse, I could set smaller than threshold instead to larger than threshold, and I would keep only the small points. And that's looking okay to me. And I'm going to apply the modifier with the little tick here. With a ground plane in my scene and the sunlight, I can see that the 3D.js object can naturally cast shadows whilst in edit mode, not in render mode however. But I can see that the shadow itself is a little bit sparse and has some fuzziness at the edges that I don't really like. So in the object's object data properties, I can go to visibility and under ray visibility, uncheck shadow. And the shadow's gone. Now looking at just my rough mesh object, I can see that the shadows are much nicer for what I want. So I'm going to select the rough mesh, and in the object data properties, I'll go to visibility and untick camera. So the object is now invisible, but casts a shadow. And with my 3D.js object visible and the rough mesh casting a shadow, I get something that I like much more. And we can use this shadow casting in our rendered mode also.